Will Talanoa Hufanga be a week one starter for the San Francisco 49ers in 2022? We'll discuss that and a lot more on today's Jack Hammer Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 49er Fridays. I am Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, and today got a real special guest with me. Got Wayne Breezie. How you doing, Wayne?
I'm doing good, Jack, man. Thanks for having me on your show, bro. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I've seen you a bunch on Twitter, and I know you've got your own show and your own channel, and wanted to get together and kind of, I'm trying to talk to as many different 49er fans as I can this offseason and just really try to get everybody's opinion. And like I said, I've seen your stuff around, and you have some good takes, and I was like, hey, I want to get together with this guy, see what it's like to talk 49ers football with him. So here we are.
Let's do it, baby. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We got real quick. We have Raphael 5629ers. He's in, says, "What's up, Jack, Wayne, everyone?" Raphael's one of the real guys. He's on here all the time, so it's nice to see him. And then Bomber T or Bomber One, excuse me, TJIF. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Thank God it's Friday. Hope all is well. Be sure to enjoy your weekend. We will. And he says, same to you, Wayne.
Appreciate you, Bomber T.
There you go. Let's just jump into it. A lot of talk this week. The discussion around the 49ers this week has really been dominated by Deebo Samuel and the contract negotiations. Wanted to get your take on everything with Deebo Samuel and what's going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, Deebo's taking over the headlines for the 49ers. It was Jimmy Garoppolo for the longest, and then that kind of got put on skates. And now Deebo's come in and he removed the stuff off of his Instagram. And now let's get to the latest thing. Today he puts out a video, talking to the fans, saying that, he's getting death threats and racial slurs in his DMs. And I'm like, oh man, like it's getting really crazy when it comes to this Deebo Samuel situation. I just want to say to the 49ers faithful out there, if you're going to call yourself a fan, please lay off the death threats. You guys did that to Raheem Mostert. He's no longer a 49er. I'm just going to leave it at that. As far as the contract situation, when it comes to Deebo, listen, man, he's going to get paid. The question is, how much is he going to get paid? And I really don't care. I want him to make his money, right? I want him to be a 49er, and I want him to make money. And I think the 49ers are going to find a way to do it by making him a nice guaranteed paid wide receiver for now. And then maybe they do something in the long term a little bit later on down the line once he continues to keep up the great work that he's doing. So I think he gets $25 million a year, but probably I would say 50, maybe 50 guaranteed, maybe 50 point, just a little bit under Tyreek Hill.
Okay. Yeah, no, first off on the message that he put out today, that's one of those things that just has become way too commonplace around professional athletes right now. And then fans wonder why why players don't want to interact with them. It's crazy some of the stuff that they have to put up with. And if you're doing that kind of stuff, I mean, I had some stuff yesterday. I was putting out a bunch of Deebo Samuel tweets, and I had a couple of them yesterday that just made me shake my head. I wanted to put them on blast and retweet them, and I just didn't because I just don't want that junk on my Twitter. But it's just, let's go. I mean, these guys are 49ers, but before the 49ers, they're just human beings, and you wouldn't want anybody talking to you that way. Especially, just because you're trying to get paid. I mean, just think about that one for a minute. Yeah. So from that standpoint, now we need the faithful and anybody else that's reaching out and doing that kind of stuff, whether you're doing that with different teams or not, you need to knock that kind of stuff off. I don't like that at all. And then in terms of the contract for Deebo Samuel, I think he deserves, in the guarantee range of somewhere between 45 and 50 million in terms of the upfront guarantee. I mean, I should take a step back. I think I'm more along the lines of, I think his total overall guarantee should be in the 65 to $70 million range.
Agreed.
And I don't care about the guaranteed at signing number because like Devontae Adams, he only had 25 point I think it was, I don't even think it was 25. I think it was like
Yeah.
22 point something guaranteed at signing, but he has 66 guaranteed for the contract. So I think if the 49ers can work out a deal where they get to that 65 to $70 million range guaranteed, I think that's a really good deal for Deebo Samuel. And I'm all in with Deebo Samuel based on what we've seen of him so far as a 49er.
Same here. And I started to think, and I know you do a lot of, you dig into the crates, you go back into the history, you pull up stats, I love what you're doing out there in the Twitterverse. You know what I'm saying? When I look at the receivers, just based off of Kyle Shanahan, it's not like he's always striking gold, right? If we go down the list, let's start with the receivers he drafted. We got Trent Taylor, Dante Pettis. Let's think about Jalen Hurd. Those are some of the guys that are no longer a part of this organization. And so he did strike gold with Deebo, and that's why, shout out to Matt Miyoko, because he pointed out something that we talked about weeks ago at the owners meeting when we were putting that stuff out there. He reiterated the fact that Kyle Shanahan says we need to get it done. Like, that's what Kyle said. He said, I don't want to handle this stuff, but we need to get it done when he was talking about signing Deebo and Nick Bosa. So I do feel like they're going to find a way to get that situation nullified, taken care of. Deebo will be a 49er at least for the next 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want to see them take care of him for 4 or 5 years, because that's, I think, his prime. If somebody else wants to give him big money after the next 5 years, then maybe you change it up. But when it comes to this point in time, he's an ascending player, and you could take Deebo Samuel's numbers and put them up against anybody. These other three guys that are just got broken off with the big numbers, you could put Deebo Samuel's first 3 years up against any of those guys, and he matches up really well. And on top of that, when you take a look at like Tyreek Hill, for example, when he did, this is his third contract, but his second contract made him the second highest paid receiver in the game at that point in 2017. So again, take advantage. It's inflation. We talk about inflation with our gas prices, but imagine the inflation of an NFL owner on these contracts, because the numbers have just blown out the roof, and part of that's because their business is doing such a good job on TV.
Exactly. And it's also what the market is demanding for wide receivers. And if you're going to be a top echelon wide receiver, the market is saying it's demanding that you get at least this, like you start here. So I feel like you said, Deebo's production over the first 3 seasons has been relatively, if you compare him to any one of those guys over their first 3 seasons, I guarantee you his numbers are up there. Now he's probably averaging 800 something yards, 856 yards. I can't remember the number off the top, but that second season was a fluke. He missed majority of that season due to injury. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like Deebo is only going to continue to ascend. Just like you said, that's the perfect word. He's the ascension for the 49ers. They need to make sure they get it done. They got Kittle done. They got Warner done. And the 49ers, when they want to get certain players, when they're all in on certain players, they get it done. The question is when. We just going to have to stick around and be patient, which is what Deebo spoke about before he put his video out. He put out a Instagram post saying that patience, it's all about being patient. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's patience for everybody, and even Deebo, I think maybe needs to be a little bit patient. Maybe that's part of the reason why he's getting some of the heat that he is with 49er fans, is maybe he's a little bit impatient, and that's why he's taking the stuff off of Instagram and all those different kind of whatever. But there's definitely has to be patience here. If you look at the 49ers history of dealing with guys who still have years left on their contracts, that they usually take a little while to get done. And so I think that's going to be the case. And I think he'll get his money. I mean, you're talking also, we're talking about how he ranks according to these other players at the top position. I'm a big 49er guy. I've been around the 49ers for over 40 years in terms of fandom, and now I get to write about them. And I think he's the second best receiver I've ever seen wear a 49ers uniform. I understand Terrell Owens is in the Hall of Fame. But I think he's the second best receiver that's ever played in the 49ers. I'm talking about in the last 42 years. Okay.
Listen, first of all, before you continue, I need everybody that's watching to hit this like button, because that's the hottest take I've ever heard in a million years. Like Jerry Rice, then Deebo over Terrell Owens. Woo, you smoking, bro. I mean, you spitting that smoking stuff. That's fire right there, bro. That's fire.
I just, here's the thing, and it goes back to, look, as a rookie, Deebo Samuel he's he has the record for most catches as a 49er. The only guy with more yards over Deebo Samuel as a rookie in 49ers history, Jerry
The
Rice.
GOAT. The GOAT.
Obviously there was a down year in 20 because of the injury. Last year, he was on pace for over 1,700 receiving yards last year. Before they pulled him out and turned him into a running back, he was on pace to have 1,766 receiving yards through the first half of the season. Starting with the Rams, they were average. He had 81 targets through the first 8 games of the year. After that, his targets went down over the last 8 weeks. They got cut in half to about 50 because of the fact that they were using him as a running back, right? And then the 1 week that they gave him targets again against Tennessee, they finally got him back to that 10 target range, 150 yards again. I mean, if they continued to feed the ball to him the way that they had been doing, he would have blown the numbers away. And this discussion around Deebo Samuel would be completely different if they just let him play wide receiver all year last year.
I agree with you, but I do have to say Terrell Owens was the man playing with the GOAT. So can you imagine,
Yes.
if he didn't have the GOAT and they could have just focused in tunnel vision on Terrell Owens, his numbers would be more through the roof. And if he wasn't so much of a diva, he would have been a 49er, probably for the majority of his career. But unfortunately, it didn't end up that way.
No, I understand. The thing is, it's funny because I've had that thrown to me a number of times. Since I mentioned it the other day on Twitter that Owens was stuck playing with Jerry Rice, so he wasn't getting. Imagine how much better he would have been if he was. But what's funny is when you look at the targets for Deebo and for Owens. Owens actually has more targets through his first 3 seasons than Deebo Samuel. 265 for Owens and 246 for Samuel. So
Okay.
it's the numbers are there, and the number I know, for sure if Deebo had played all of 2020, the numbers would be all askew because he would have got a ton more. And then that's a little bit more of an argument that I would see people making. I'm just basing it off of and it's even making it an argument based off of numbers. I'm just basing it off of somebody who's paid way too close of attention to 49ers football for the last 40 plus years too. That's why I'm making that observation.
And that's why, my friend, you can't get rid of Deebo Samuel, because you just went from Jerry Rice to Terrell Owens to Deebo Samuel. And you went Jerry Rice, Deebo Samuel, and we go back to Terrell Owens. But that right there is why we can't get rid of him, because we haven't had a wide receiver with his type of caliber, his type of clout, and to give us that type of production. You know what I'm saying? So before Deebo, we paid George Kittle because guess who was getting the receiving clout? George Kittle. Now we're able to use George Kittle a little bit differently because now you have that wide receiver. And we can kind of wait a little bit on Brandon Ayuk, I think, because he's got a 5th-year option coming up in a couple of years. So we're going to be just fine, bro. Just get Deebo, keep Deebo, find it, make it away, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a good point you made. I was on with Grant earlier today on his channel, and we were talking about this whole thing with Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and how you're going to pay all these guys. And I mentioned that same thing you did. That you got that 5th-year option still because he was a first-round pick. So you've got a couple of years before you have to deal with or worry about doing that kind of thing with Brandon Ayuk. You're good there. But before we move off of this, Moses says to me, he says, Jack, that's blasphemy. You both are speaking. Number 1, Jerry Rice. Number 2, John Taylor. Number 3, Freddie Solomon. Then he goes to Deebo. And he's got Terrell not even on the list. He says he doesn't belong anywhere because of his immaturity. I don't know, man. I thought Deebo running out and spiking the ball in the star, that was probably one of the
That was the greatest thing we've ever seen.
Yeah.
As much as we dislike Dallas, that was the greatest thing. You can call him immature you want, but that took the cake. That was the best thing he's ever done for a 49er. I do remember Freddie Solomon. I love John Taylor, but John Taylor is kind of slow, sliding down. Look, Terrell Owens was better than John Taylor. I'm sorry. As much as I love JT, he was better. And you got to slide Deebo. Deebo is climbing up the ranks and very fast. And the way today's NFL is, Deebo, he'll never be number 1, but he clearly could be that number 2 that Jack is talking about. He clearly could be that number 2.
Yeah, and I love John Taylor. John Taylor is one of my favorite 49ers from back in the late 80s and early 90s. I think he's highly underrated by a lot of people that follow the 49ers who probably didn't even get a chance to really watch him play. But I put him down the list primarily because he was always the second guy to Jerry Rice, kind of like
he was the perfect compliment, though. Perfect compliment.
Sure, absolutely, because he was the big guy. He could run just like him, and they worked really well together. I mean, even you go back, it's funny because Taylor had those 290+ yard touchdown receptions against the Rams on that
Yep.
one Monday night game, long
Yep.
back in the days gone by. But you watch those both those plays, and who's blocking for him 50 yards downfield? Jerry Rice,
Your boy G. Yep.
right?
They were
And so
perfect. They were a perfect tandem. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. That's why you don't break this up. 49ers front office, if you're watching the show, please don't break this up. You got Deebo, you got Brandon. They both like to block. They both like to catch. They both can get it in space. They both can take it down the field. Just keep that core together as long as you can.
yeah, I think you're right. I think if you look at this the way that kind of like what Moses laid out right here, you had Jerry Rice and John Taylor, probably the top number 1 and 2 receivers in the 49ers history. Then you probably have Freddie Solomon and Dwight Clark because of their history together
Yep.
back in the early days of the 49er
Yep.
dynasty. And then right now it'd be Deebo and Brandon Ayuk, just partly because Ayuk hasn't broken out yet. I think we might be able to see that this year.
I agree.
That's a really fun question. That's a really good topic. I'm gonna have to remember that one for down the
Yeah.
road talking again, because that's a good one. So the one other thing that I had here, and this is still on Deebo Samuel, is we keep hearing people are they're not wanting to give the big money to Deebo Samuel. They're talking. There's a lot of down talk on Deebo Samuel. He doesn't deserve to be the top guy. He doesn't. And at the same time, when you look, like I said earlier, you compare his numbers, they match up with everybody that we're talking about, right? As far as
I'm with you.
the top paid guys. Meanwhile, you got Nick Bosa over here, and nobody's talking about Nick Bosa doesn't deserve $35 million plus, or greater than $80 million guaranteed at signing, like with TJ Watt. You don't see that with Nick Bosa, and it's just it's a weird thing to me. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, like it's been tripping me out. I did a show, and it was kind of like, who would you pay first, Nick or Debo? And everybody was saying Debo because we all know Nick's situation, right? And so Nick is another first round draft pick, and so you can also give him the 5th-year option. But no one is talking about the astronomical amount of money he's going to demand once he becomes a free agent, because he's probably 9 times out of 10 going to break the 49ers bank of trust. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy because he's gonna be the number 1 edge rusher in the league in 2 years, right? And so pending anything, like, right? And so Nick is gonna break the bank. I don't understand why no one's caring about paying him all the money in the world, but we're talking about not paying one of the best wide receivers in the game all the money in the world. When you got a guy that put the team on his back and said, hey, man, look, give me the ball. I'll go ahead. We're going to get this done. Same thing with Nick. Nick did the same thing on the defense, but you're going to pay an edge rusher. I think people aren't used to paying wide receivers money, but they're like the new position that's getting paid right now. Think
Yeah,
about it. They're
they
the new
really are.
position that's getting paid. And I get it. Tyreek Hill has a Super Bowl. Stephon Diggs doesn't. Cooper Kupp does. I'm just thinking of all the top. Hopkins, no, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
still. Adams has one. Like, you got to factor in Deebo into that category. He doesn't have a Super Bowl, but he's been there, and we're trying to keep him there. And so that's why you want to make sure you take care of his salary. As far as Nick Bosa, ain't nobody questioning about paying him. We're going to pay Nick Bosa all the money we got. They're going to come around asking for GoFundMe accounts at some point because he's going to guarantee everything. And he'll do it so quietly and silently. You know how the Bosa family get down, bro. They
Uh-huh.
get their money, and it's all about the language in the contract, too. That's how they get down. That's a Bosa thing.
Yeah, and it's the thing for me though is that you've got two guys in Bosa and Debo who the issues that you have with these guys are the same, right? It's the
Same.
concern with both players is an injury concern.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the productivity, people say Debo's only done it for 1 year, which I said already I don't think is right. And Bosa's really only done it for 1 year too. I mean, he's only been over double
Well,
digit sacks one time.
yeah,
He didn't do it the first year. He only had
that's
nine and a
true.
half the first year.
That's
Um,
true.
as you start to look at like where they are in the pantheon of 49ers, I said already where Deebo is in terms of his rookie season numbers and then what he did last year. And then you look at what Nick Bosa did, 9.5. He's not even in the top 2 in 49ers rookies for sacks. He's behind Alden Smith and he's behind
Mm-hmm.
Charles Haley.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if there's another one in there, but I know those two for sure. So I just find it hard to fathom how much people are giving the money to Nick Bosa without even thinking, and then when it comes to when they're coming to to Deebo Samuel, they're like, I don't know.
Right. It's because of the position, though, because you pay the
I
quarterback, the
I think
left
you're right.
tackle, and the edge. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And then real quick, I got my buddy over here in the comment section, Swan Song. Hey Swans, good to see you. Thank you so much yesterday. You did some really good work helping me out with helping me out to figure out how much the money was for these receivers on their second contracts. I know we'd had that conversation on Twitter, so you helped me out there. But now you're telling me that I'm being disingenuous by saying that Bosa was dominant as a rookie. All I'm saying is he was good. Nick Bosa, 9.5 sacks, though. If his name was Charlie Johnson, I don't know if he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Hey,
Just leave it
let's
at that.
ask this question. Ask Swan Song, how many sacks did Myles Garrett have his rookie year? How many sacks did TJ Watt have his rookie year? Let's look up those numbers because that's what we're talking about. We compare Deebo Samuel to Tariq Hill, Devontae Adams, Hopkins, Diggs. We're comparing them to all the top echelon guys. So let us know in the chat how they did their rookie year, and then we can have this conversation because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about why aren't we talking about Deebo? Why are we talking about Deebo getting the bag, but not talking about Nick Bosa possibly getting the bag? He didn't have a high production for his first 3 years. He had a killer season last year, almost broke Alden Smith record. And in fact, if it wasn't for the referees, which I hate to say, I hope that don't get you in trouble. If it wasn't for the refs, he probably would have had 30 sacks. You know what I'm saying? So we're just saying, look at their stuff based off of the 3 years. They both, you could say, missed their second season, right, due to injury. They both kind of have injuries that go on, like you said earlier. And Nick had 9.5 sacks his rookie year. I mean, he had a killer third year, junior year.
Yeah,
That's what you want to call it.
sure. And then, like Swan says, it's not all about sacks. But here's the thing. Swan, everybody else, if you go on my Twitter, if you see that, then that's fine. You saw yesterday where I put all the numbers of the receivers. That's the one you responded to yesterday. So I put the first 3 years of Deebo Samuel up against the other top guys that just got paid, right? Meaning Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and Tyreek Hill. Cool. I did the same thing with Nick Bosa. I have Nick Bosa, and the two guys that are ahead of him really are Joey Bosa, his brother, and TJ Watt, who you mentioned. And so I compared the first 3 years of those three players together. Bosa fits right in there, just like Deebo Samuel fits right in there with the other receivers that are going to get paid. Nick Bosa fits right in there as well. It's funny because both of the Bosa brothers missed a lot of time their first few years. They both only played 35 games through the first 3 years, which is interesting.
I wonder if that's by design.
Well, he had the injury. They both had the kind of the same injury bug.
That's my point, and it was almost like the same. I think it was the same injury too, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just saying, I wonder if they're pacing themselves. Them Bosa's gonna play for a long time. I can feel it. I'm glad we got Nick.
No, I am too. I just look at it and I'm like, man, these guys both deserve the money, and
absolutely.
And if you're going to complain, I'm more saying if you're one of those guys that's complaining about Deebo and don't believe that he deserves it, then I think you need to also be starting to take a look at what's going on with Nick Bosa too. So I don't know what you're talking about. Swan telling me that nobody's got a tinfoil hat. I got a hat on at all, and it doesn't look like Wayne's got a tinfoil hat on.
Maybe he sees the green. Maybe
you got the little piece of foil on the bottom for the
the emblem, the sticker.
Yeah, we're good. I'm just gonna. Swan's a good guy. He's in my chats a lot, and we talk on Twitter and stuff. And so
nice to meet you, bro.
Yeah, he calls into my shows every once in a while. So I like to give him a hard time on the shows. He's kind of like my, like you watch these radio shows or listen to them, and they got the producer that they chew out all the time to make fun of him. That's Swan for me. I love the guy. He's hilarious. He's smart too. He really, like I said, he did help me out yesterday with some information. So let's move off of that because everybody's getting mad at me for those two hot takes. But how about Kamoko Turay? The 49ers went out and they signed a new rusher yesterday. I think this is a good signing. What do you think?
I thought it was a good signing too. Look, the 49ers are doing what they should have been doing a long time ago. They're getting depth. They're getting depth, and they're getting solid depth too, right? They're finding guys that are producing. I know Swan said it's not all about sacks. It's not. You're right when it comes to edge rushing. It's about pressures, quarterback hits, and sacks. You want to factor all that in there. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a guy that got you 5.5 sacks last season. limited. He wasn't their starting defensive end, but when he was asked to come in the game, he was able to produce. If you listen to the kid talk, I was on his IG live last night, and he is stoked about playing for Chris Kosaric. I think every defensive lineman in the NFL that's going to the NFL, I've talked to many rookie prospects, draft prospects. They all want to play for Chris Kosaric. I'm like, do you understand that he will curse you out before you even put on your pads? Like before you get like that's his MO. Yes, they're ready for it. And so this kid, Turay, is ready for the work. And that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? He said, hey, I signed a 1-year deal. I'm betting on myself. I think he's going to be able to give you, like, he has a good motor. He has a speed off the edge. And we're talking, guys, we're talking third downs. We're talking the 49ers force. You're really good on stats. I know that the 49ers were forcing teams into a lot of third and longs and couldn't get off the field for some strange reason, right? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you right now, they're going to be able to rotate, whether it's going to be Turay, whether it's going to be Jordan Willis, whether it's going to be, oh my gosh, what's the guy we picked up, we just brought back? Kerry Hyder, whether it's going to be, it doesn't matter who it is. That's the point. They're going to hit you with different guys. Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, they're going to hit you with different guys at different times. So they're saying the 49ers are doing something really smart, bro.
Yeah,
you can go ahead and double team Nick Bosa. Go ahead. I got 7 pieces y'all going to have to figure out.
Yeah, and that's where I think that's partly why you saw Arden Key get such big numbers last year, right? Compared to what he'd done prior. He was getting a lot more one-on-one matchups in the middle against guys who weren't as athletic as him, and he was able to take advantage of it. So I agree with you there. Real quick, before I speak a little bit more on Kamoko Turay, I want to just echo what Raphael 5629er says. I always forget to do this. I'm not very good at it. That's part of why I'm not hosting radio shows yet. Got to like and subscribe, everybody. Got to do those mid segment promos, right?
I only say it in the beginning too, bro. Don't feel bad. I forget. I'm so in depth into the show, I forget to ask people to like and subscribe, even though it's written at the top of the screen.
That's right, and I know exactly. I deal with the same thing. It's funny because this is the one thing here when it comes to Turay. The one that's interesting is, the 49ers typically carry 10 defensive linemen. And if you look at the way they're set up right now with this signing, they're now at 11 that you could make a strong argument makes sense to be on this team. Kind of where do you see Turay fitting?
Ooh, we got it. Yeah, this is a conversation, bro, because I'm saying to myself, I know for a fact they're going to draft the edge rusher, right? So that would be 12 if they don't address any more linemen. And so who's not making this squad? That's the question, right? Because I like Charles Omenihu. Samson Ebukam is getting guaranteed money, so I don't see how he won't make the squad. But they could cut him and save $6 million, something like that. Listen, this is about to be a legit good. This has been a really good offseason for the 49ers. I know a lot of people don't want to mention it because we didn't get any of the big names that they wanted, but they got the right names. I stick to that. I stick to my guns on that because they're really reminding me of that Giants team when they had nothing but rotational pieces coming in, hitting Tom Brady from every angle. Brady didn't even know their names. They weren't even known. They were no-name people. And that's my point. I'm not saying that our guys are no-name people. I'm just saying they're not the high prospect names. They're guys that's going to be fresh legs, fresh rush, fresh depth. And so I don't know. I think Turay's going to come in and work out. If he can stay healthy, I don't know who doesn't make the team. This is going to be the best camp ever. Are you going to be at camp this year?
That's the plan right now. I expect to be, yeah. And I think it's going to be, a lot of fun to watch. I think, I put out an article today and I'll just, discuss a little bit here, but my first thought when I saw the Turay signing is when actually it goes back to when they met with him. It's like, ooh, are they thinking that they're going to move off of Samson Ebukam here? Because like you said, they can save $6.5 million with a move there. And they played they're similar guys, right? They're similar sizes. Very similar. And all those kind of things. And then I was like I looked at their stats and it's like, those 5.5 sacks from Turay came on only 220 something snaps last year. Ebukam had over 500 and he was only at 4.5. And so it's like that's one thing I could see them maybe doing. And the other thing too, is the other option that I had is maybe the 49ers decide that they want to go with just 2 quarterbacks, and maybe they're going to go with 11 pass rushers this year, because you look at their schedule. That's this
Yes,
schedule. This
yes,
schedule's,
sir.
when it comes to quarterbacks that they're facing this year, holy moly,
The
they're facing.
AFC West, bro. Ugh.
Well, not only that, but look, this is who they play at Levi's: Tom Brady,
Yes, sir. I'll
uh,
be there.
Patrick Mahomes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to throw Tua Tagovailoa in there, but that we know what that receiving group looks like out in Miami,
They got
and
a
then they
squad.
have Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford. They obviously they play them in both, and then they're going,
Twice.
yeah, and then they're going on the road to play against Derek Carr and
And
Russell
Russell
Wilson.
Wilson.
I mean, that's 9-10 games right there against some really tough situations when it comes to quarterback play.
Yeah, I think that I think they listen, the 49ers find a way every year to carry, like they pick one position group, in my opinion. One year we went with a lot of wide receivers, and then like I think we went with the more than six. I think we had like seven. I can't remember. I think it was 2 years ago. We went with an astronomical amount of wide receivers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? This year, last year it was defensive line too. They had what, 10, if I'm not mistaken. And so
Uh,
this year, I think they continue that process because they realize that they got to win these games in the trenches. There might be one or two less offensive linemen. I was listening to Cole Strange talk. I can't remember who did the interview. I want to say it was Hobby. And Cole Strange, they asked him a question about playing guard and center. And he says, well, I want to be able to, play wherever they ask me to play, so that way I could be, if I have to, I could be a guy that's always able to suit up because you're only able to take a certain amount of people, linemen on the road, blah, 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 whatever. So
uh,
maybe the linemen, maybe the offensive linemen are the ones that get the short end of the stick this year, and or the running back. I don't know. We got some competition in just about every room.
Yeah, well, I think that the thing that you can do there is they could, because again, Swan Song brings up the practice squad and don't they need a quarterback? And maybe they just carry the two. Maybe they just carry Nate Sudfeld as the backup and Trey Lance as your starter, and maybe they do have a practice squad quarterback, but he doesn't take up a spot on the roster. So
Mm-mm.
it's okay to have that guy and let that guy be the one who's doing your scout team and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's the direction we'll see them take with the roster this year. Because right now, when you look out at the landscape of quarterbacks, there's not really anybody that you can. Nobody's beating the door down for any of these guys that's out there as a free agent or so on.
Or maybe they draft a quarterback.
Maybe
Top
they
nine
go.
picks.
Maybe, yeah, they've got, and who knows? I don't know. I don't like foresee them to take all 9. I think they're going to trade around and probably end up with about 6, but
Same here.
maybe
Yeah.
that might be. We'll see how that plays out. But really quick before we get onto the draft, or maybe this was scoot over to the draft really quick because you just
Okay.
mentioned drafting a quarterback. Let's do that one next, and that's right here. So draft, and really the topic around this one is, what position do you feel the 49ers are going to go after first? Who do you think they're going to target, or what position would you think they're going to target? Let's say 61 or in that ball range.
All right. I feel like, I feel like the 49ers are set up to go BPA now. I mean, like just after that Turay signing, me looking at how many defensive ends they brought in, I'm saying to myself, maybe they won't go defensive end. But I think it depends on who's available on the board, because if there's a defensive end that's high on their board and he's just sitting there, I can see them drafting the defensive end. If I'm the 49ers, though, I will go where I feel like the area of need is the most. And sometimes people are not going to like that, but I think they go safety here.
Uh,
Why not? Right? And so we have Talanoa Hufanga, Tarvarius Moore, and Jimmy Ward. Those are our safeties, right? So you're going to need to
uh,
bring in another guy. You're going to probably draft a guy, and then probably maybe even I'm sorry, George Odom as well. My bad.
yeah.
So we have 4 safeties on the list. And so you're going to probably want to bring in another guy. And I'd say draft the guy, draft the kid. If a Jaquan Brisker is there, that's got to be the pick. He's got to be the pick. Why? Because Jaquan Brisker is exactly what Tart is, but better. And on top of that, you can get Tart back probably for a vet minimum if you don't get your guy. So I feel like the safety is the addressing need. I know we're going to talk about Hufanga, but I think safety is the pick that you go. I know people say that we need interior linemen, we need a center. We don't need those positions. We need to replenish those positions, but we don't necessarily need them on day one. We don't have a safety, in my opinion,
Yeah.
that can line up with Jimmy Ward. That's why I would go safety.
Okay. Yeah. See, and I'm a little different on that last one that you said there when it comes to a safety that can line up with Ward. Um, I'm a little bit different there because I feel like Talanoa Hufanga can line up with Jimmy Ward. We saw that last year. I know that there were some coverage breakdowns, but I feel like the Foreigners were able to win games with him back there as long as he was with Jimmy
That's
Ward.
true. That's true.
But I think first position taken, it's going to be really best player available for the 49ers, or because they're going to find there's going to be somebody that they're really going to like. I bet you we're going to see them trade up for somebody, maybe not that high, but they're going to jump up a couple picks, I think, to take a guy, maybe in
Yeah,
the late 50s or somewhere around there.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that as well, and we'll see how it works out. I'm not sure what direction I would go, especially because I think just doing some mock drafts, I'm just kind of really starting to dig into it. Uh, there's the defensive end out of South Carolina just keeps sitting there for him at 61. Every
Mm-hmm.
time I do a mock draft, he's there. So it's a group of there's a group of guys that kind of are always there, and I would say safety or defense or edge are probably the two that are most likely at that spot, at least in the top. And then uh, they do have a need for a developmental center, I
I
think.
agree.
So that's where you can get those guys in the third, fourth, fifth rounds depending on who's there. Luke Fortner is a really good one out of Kentucky.
Kentucky, baby. Let's go.
Jurgens, everybody's talking about him out of
Nebraska.
Nebraska. The one that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really get much discussion is Alec Lidstrom out of Boston College. That's a name I've been talking about for a while.
You too. See, I like Lindstrom.
Yeah.
I really do. I've been talking about him for the past month. I felt like that's a guy, if you talk about developmental, he could come in, he could play guard, he could play center. You can get him, he could be under the wing of Alex Smack. He can really learn the NFL. He comes from a football pedigree. His brother plays for the Falcons. But that would be a really good, solid pick you can get a little bit later. Let's say Cam Jurgens is the guy and he's gone when the 49ers want to pick. I could see them drafting Alec Lindstrom.
Yeah, that's the same thing. And like you said, that's the bloodlines there too. The brother playing for the Falcons, the dad and uncle both were players at Boston College back in their day. So I could see that be a direction. And um, outside of just the first pick, I think the Flyers are gonna. There's a high likelihood I think the Flyers get a running back in day two.
Wait a minute. I need to know your running back, bro. If you could pick one running back, I need to know which one.
Well, if I could pick one, if I didn't have to worry about somebody else taking them, I'd probably go with the James Cook out of Georgia, but I don't think that
Yeah.
he's going to be there. I think we're looking more at a guy like Jerome Ford or
Okay.
Brian Robinson. Those are the three that they've been linked to as far as having visits with. Uh,
Yes.
I like Ford. The thing about Ford that I like is I know he's at Cincinnati, but whereas Robinson's at Bama. But
Alabama. Mm-hmm.
Ford started at Alabama. He was an Alabama guy. He was there for 2 years and then transferred over to Cincinnati. And then you see what he's able to do when he gets onto the field. I think it was just and he's got good hands. Projects as kind of a little more of a short yardage back, which I think the 49ers need some help with. I just really like. There's a couple of these guys there that are going to be gone by the end of the third round. I think are good fits.
I actually think that Ford and my man Brian are actually better fits than James Cook for the 49ers. And I like James Cook. I really do.
Uh,
But I really like Jerome Ford. But I was watching film on the kid from Alabama, and I'm like, how is this kid going under the radar? Like, why are we not talking about this? What did this kid do? I started checking his record, like his rap sheet. I wanted to make sure he was like, he don't have any crimes or something. Like, how is he not like higher up on people's boards? Like, this kid is a monster. He led the SEC and missed tackles, bro.
uh,
That's ridiculous. I think he had like 79 in the 70s, high 70s too. Like, people can't tackle him or they miss him. That kid's a problem.
Yeah, no, that's a guy that I think is going to be really good as well. It's going to be fun. I think the Flyers need to add one guy in there. I like Jeff Wilson Jr., but I think they need to upgrade either Wilson or Jermichael Hasty. They need to upgrade one of those two guys, and we know they're not going to go into training camp with just four backs anyway. So there's going to be an addition somewhere.
That's what I like what you just said, because my theory is this: they draft a running back, one of those three guys that we like, or it might be some faster backs later on, like a Pierre Strong, or I like Ty Chandler out of North Carolina. It could be one of those two guys. Those are really good pass catching backs with speed as well. But the thing is, they draft a back, and then they're going to force Hasty and Jeff Wilson to battle it out for that spot, because the rookie going to make the squad.
Yeah, that's actually that's a really good point that I hadn't thought about. That plays into their whole competition thing that they like to put together. Definitely, that's a nice one. I like that. Real quick before we move on, Notorious Gav, Big Gav from over in Wales says Jack Hammer and Breezy looks like a match made in heaven. Thank you, Gav, for joining in. At least we're not too late for you. I know it's getting late over there still, but appreciate you joining in. And we also had E Kim in the house. He says, "Hey, Jack and Wayne. Good to have you in here as well." So just kind of moving forward off of the draft talk, though, the other question that I had, a couple of other things, and really the topic of this whole discussion today was Talanoa Hufanga. I put out there this morning that I have a feeling that Talanoa Hufanga is going to be starting for the 49ers at strong safety. And kind of what are your thoughts on Talanoa Hufanga? Do you think there's a possibility that he starts there?
Talanoa Hufanga is a guy that I mocked to the 49ers last season in the 5th round, actually. I mocked him in the 5th round. Listen, he's a football player, and the 49ers need football players. And I don't mean just like, a person that puts on, but this kid has a knack for like just the ball. Now, he may struggle in certain coverages, okay? And that's what rookies are supposed to do. The question is, how will he come out and respond this particular season? So I have him over Tavarius Moore. I have him over George Odom. I think George Odom is going to probably replace Talanoa Hufanga on the special teams unit. Hear me out, bro, because I like your take. I think Hufanga has a great chance to go out there and start. Here's my only issue, and it's not a bad issue. Trust me. Is he interchangeable enough? Because DeMeco Ryans wants his safeties to be able to play safety, not free safety, not strong safety, but safety. Jack, that's the only reason why I said I draft Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. That's what made Jaquiski Tartt good, was because he can play both. And you saw Jimmy line up in the box, Tartt play deep. Tartt in the box, Jimmy played deep. Their connection was magnificent. And when, obviously when Tartt goes out, it's a little miscommunication issues out there. But I did love what I saw from Hufanga. So will he start? I don't know. Does he have a chance to start? 100%. 100%.
Yeah, and I know. Go ahead.
The draft will. I think. No, you're right. The draft will determine that. If they don't draft the safety, like right away, if Brisker is on the board and they pass over him, he's starting.
Let's look at that a little bit differently too, because I could see where they could draft a safety with their first pick. And let's say it's a Brisker or somebody like that, but he doesn't start here in year one. He's maybe expected to take over. Yeah, he's expected to play special teams, all kinds. And he's really expected to start next year because Jimmy Ward's sitting out there with a contract that's expiring after the year. They haven't talked about that at all. So maybe they're they go with a safety that they plan on filling Jimmy Ward's spot in 2023, and go with Hufanga and go with
that's a good point, Jack.
Yeah, go Hufanga and Ward as your starters, and then like Swan says over here too, and it's something that I've been hitting on is I think the secondary is going to be a little bit different this year as well. The way that they're going to be playing in the secondary, because you've got a cornerback now who's pretty good in man coverage over on one side in Travarius Ward. And you're going to start getting a lot tighter coverage. Those safeties aren't going to necessarily have to cover. You're not going to have two safeties sitting up top as much. You can maybe bring, two guys down by the box or do different things with them. And maybe you'll be able to see Hufanga be down there a little bit more often and
good
things
point.
like that.
That's a good point, man. That's actually a great point. I would love to see that. I'm going to have to practice that in Madden because I would love to see both safeties be able to play a little bit down more. And then but we got two. I feel like we have two good corners that play well in man. Ambry Thomas is no slouch in man, press man as well. He struggles in zone. He always struggled in zone. They never played zone back in Michigan. They played a lot of man, press up jam you on the line of scrimmage and and
Yeah.
run with your guy. And so that this is a good problem to have. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like, I really love this issue. I do think that Hufanga can go out there and start. And I never thought about that. Like, even if we draft a safety, the 49ers are good at drafting players that they want and redshirting them their first year. That's a thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and well, the other thing too, like Mr. G over here, he says you can't play Hufanga, you can't play man with Hufanga, but that's yes and no. I mean, if you go back to week 3 against Green Bay, Hufanga's on the field playing single high safety
Yes, sir.
with both of the safeties, Jimmy Ward and Jaquoski Tart, lined up in the slot, playing up man coverage on guys. So, you can do it. His struggles, his biggest struggles, and where he had the biggest problem last year in coverage wasn't when he was a single high safety. It was when he's playing two safeties and he's the other deep guy, and he gets caught up a couple of times. One of them is when he's playing with, I can't remember his name now. He was number 32. The other safety that was the backup, because remember when they played Arizona.
Oh, was it Tavon Wilson?
Yeah, remember? Yeah, Tavon Wilson. Remember against Arizona, they had Wilson and Hufanga starting in that game because Ward and Tart were both injured.
Yeah.
So, when I look at Hufanga, I feel like he's a guy that's going to be okay as long as you have a guy like Jimmy Ward, at least this year, and then next, 2023, maybe you get him the experience this year, get his feet wet, playing a lot more often, and maybe you'll be fine. We'll see. It's going to be fun to check out.
I agree.
I don't. He says he got burned playing single high. Tart came across and saved that TD.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember
do
which one that is. What game was that?
I'm not sure the game, but remember when Tart? That's when I said, you remember? I don't know if you remember.
Oh,
I remember.
I think he's talking about the Rams game.
And I remember tweeting out that Tart has wheels, like, because he was able to save a touchdown.
Yeah, there was a couple of times when Tart did that. I don't remember exactly which one it is. I'd have to go back and look at all of them. I know that he got ripped though when playing Green Bay in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, but that's Aaron Rodgers. Like, Aaron is going to tear apart a young safety. Like, that's his job. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Even that, he's playing single high safety. That ball's cut along the sidelines. I don't know.
And he's got to get there. And that's in my opinion, the only thing Hufanga lacks is, if he's going to play single man high, is speed. Like, that's the only thing that he lacks. He's just not a fast guy. So he has to do better at learning how to run his angles, and so that he can make up for the speed that he lacks. Because if he gets his angles run down packed, he's going to be a problem. And remember, I think that I'm not comparing him to Troy Polamalu, but what made Troy Polamalu like a legend in this NFL is the fact that he just lined up because he just had an intuition for football. He knew where the ball was going to go. I feel like he has some of that in him. He has that. That's why I said he's a football player. He has this intuition to know. The fact that he was the only guy able to locate that block punt that day. Only guy. Everybody was looking for it. We still looking for it. He knew. He was patient, picked it up, boom, touchdown. He has intuition for the ball.
Yeah, and I see where you're right. I mean, I forgot about that one in the Green Bay game. It's not that wasn't a coverage issue. That's an angle issue on a tackle. That's
what it is.
That is a bit of a problem. That's one of the things that makes Jimmy Ward so good about when he plays up high is he might not make a tackle right away, but he gets in that guy's way and does his job and stops him.
But that's something, Jack, that he learns though. We can't expect him to be that fifth round. What was he, a fifth round draft pick or sixth round draft pick? We can't fifth round, right?
I don't know, fifth or sixth, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, and look at Jimmy Ward real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but even Jimmy Ward, look how long it took for Jimmy Ward to become the guy that everybody likes.
Yeah, like it took him forever years to be healthy. I think that was the 49ers problem, though. They wanted him to play everywhere. They wanted him to line up in the slot, line up at corner. It was just like, dude, you're going to break this kid. And then finally, he got his niche for football.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Year 9 for Jimmy Ward too, y'all. Year 9. Let that sink in. Year 9. He's seasoned, and I think Jimmy Ward is the most underrated safety in the game right now.
Yeah, I think he's a really good safety. I think the 49ers need this season is about the 49ers getting their pass rush a little bit better. Travarius Ward helping them tighten up their coverage, and I think between Ward helping the defensive backfield, tighten up their coverage. That pass rush is going to be able to get to the quarterback because he's going to have to hold it just a second longer. So
I'm putting
give
up
me
the
5.
number 5. Nope, I can give you a 5. I'm putting up the number 5 because Ward will have 5 interceptions this year.
Ooh. What's his? I don't think he's ever come close to that in his career.
Ever.
That would be something. If Jimmy Ward can get the 5 interceptions, then we're really talking
Listen, man,
about the.
watch that dude. He's out there working, but you hit the nail on the head. I don't think the faithful understand what the 49ers are doing. I don't think they quite grasp the concept. That's why they need us to kind of give them to give them a different take on outlook or perspective on what's really going on. You just said it. The 49ers are tightening up their pass rush. They're looking to get better at the pass rush to give those coverage guys less time to cover. You know what I'm saying? So that way they can find passes. Maybe some tip passes will come this year. Maybe some things get in the lane to where they can go out and pick those passes off. I think Jimmy Ward is going to be able to be the ball hawk that we knew we drafted him to be. Remember, he was a ball hawk in college. Like, that's what he did.
Yeah.
Then we just changed his position a few times, and it was just like, yo, he was confused.
Yeah, it takes time for these guys to develop and everything. And real quick, Brunel Jacobs says, "I want Leon O'Neal Jr." And absolutely, I had him in my mock draft the other night with Rob. I had him at.
He's a dog, y'all. He's a dog. And that's why we don't have to draft the safety yet, too. You could probably get Leon O'Neal Jr. probably day 3 in the draft. You know what I'm saying? And I love him. I love the kid. I talked to him personally, had a conversation. Kid's head is like, he is squared away. Like, he just knows how to talk. He knows how to say the right. Like, he is just ready to play football. And he just needs a shot. I guarantee you, whoever gives him a shot, and I think I tweeted that out, is going to be in for it. They gotta give me $5 because this kid's gonna ball out.
There you go. No, I've heard a lot of good things, and I was reading a scouting report, and based on the scouting report, he sounds like Jaworski Tart, really, with his ability to play, all over the field and do all these different things like Tart does. It fits perfect what the 49ers try to do. So if that's the route they're able to go, that'd be, I think that'd be a strong selection for them as well. Depending on where, regardless of where they get him, I think it's a strong player.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's it for today. I got to get over to, do another show. And Wayne, I really want to say thank you for coming on and making it work in your schedule to talk to me today.
No, thank you so much for having me here, man. I truly appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I know he forgot to say it, but I didn't. So make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button right now for my man, Jack. Hey, Jack, you got to do a different podcast segment for the joints that you put out on Twitter and just keep them short. Do 5-minute segments of that name. I'm telling you, people will love it. I'll love it.
Okay, there you go. Maybe I need to start doing that every morning. I'll put it out on Twitter and then come on here and do a quick thing with why what it is and why I'm saying it. And
that's it.
See, there's a lot of guys smarter than me doing this kind of stuff, and I like that. That's a good
man.
Good,
we a team,
good help right
yo.
there.
That's all it is. We're a team, and we got to come together and just brainstorm. It's all about brainstorming, man. That's it. Yeah. That's all we got to do. We keep it together. We good.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I appreciate you coming on. I want to say thanks to everybody over in the comment section. You guys were great today as well. Everybody that's watched, if you could, like we said, subscribe, go to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com, check all that stuff out. And then also get yourself over to Wayne's channel, subscribe over there because he's got a great channel going on over there as well. And you do a podcast with some other folks as well, right?
Yeah, man, I got Nitty Gritty Niners every Monday night, man. It's so cool because it's just us 4 coming together. Peachy, Mose, my man, Fear to God, and we just really keep it gritty about the Niners. We just keep it real. That's what the show's all about. And so when the people in the chat, when the fans and the faithful, we call them family, when they come through, they keep it 100% authentic. They say the things that you and I can't say, out there. Like, they keep it real. I'm gonna leave it at that. Really good show though.
There you go. Yeah. So make sure you get over there, subscribe and everything over on Wayne's channel as well. Thanks again for hitting it up. And we'll be back on Monday with some new content. Until then, have a great rest of your Friday. Have a happy Easter if you celebrate it. And just have a good weekend, everybody.
All right, y'all. Peace out.